you because many people do not know that radiologic technologists do these exams. And it's okay because that's why I'm here to let you know that we are the ones that actually do these exams, not not anybody else. Now, I will say this. We do have nurses that do help us, but otherwise, it's radiologic technologists that do the exams. We work in there with doctors. What else? I mean, we do a lot. And I mean, I enjoy it. I've done it for 21 years. I don't think I told you guys that. I have done radiology for 21 years. Yes. And my husband does it as well. We did not meet in the field. He did it later on, but he saw what a good career it was. And it was a 2-year career for me. You can go for longer, but it was a 2-year career for me. And I was able to have flexibility in my life, flexibility with my friends and family, in my social life, economically. I mean, I cannot complain. I cannot complain at all. So I love what I do. But here we go. I'm going to share with you what some of these things look like because a lot of people just don't know. So here we go. Here is the actual. Can somebody tell me what that is? Have you ever heard or seen that machine before? And I use that in a entertaining way. Heard or seen that machine because most people hear this machine before they see it. So it is really cool. We use magnets and the hydrogen in a person's body to be able to acquire imaging, and specifically MRI images. And this is the coolest thing. A lot of people have never either had an MRI before or they just hear so many horror stories about that. And I would love to know who has had an MRI scan before. What was your experience? I've got several videos that actually are entertaining about just the sounds that go on in an MRI video, in an MRI scan. This particular scanner looks like a Philips scanner. Each scanner is going to be different. So your experience with MRI probably will be different every time. I get patients all the time that say, "Oh, this one was much bigger inside. The last one I had, I felt like I was being squeezed in." Well, some scanners, MRI scanners, are very tight. The smaller they are, the better detail back in the day. Now they have the technology to be able to make them wider for the population and also still acquire quality imaging. Because that is the reason you come get an MRI, is because of the detail. You want detail in this imaging. So, MRI or a magnetic resonance imaging, it is a wonderful field. It falls up under the radiology profession. It takes, there are two ways to become an MRI tech. If you have a degree already, at least a bachelor's degree, I think it's a bachelor's degree. I'm going to do a video on that because we call it a primary pathway. People can go right into MRI. There are very few schools that will have just an MRI program. I think most of them are on the West Coast. And I think there are a couple that are online, but you got to be careful because some schools will take your money and you can't go sit for the registry, the ARRT registry or the Armorit registry. Those are the two registries. ART has been around the longest, but you have to go to one of their accredited schools, which that way they make sure that the education is up to par and you're just not paper milling people and putting people out there. If you've seen the amount of MRI accidents that have been happening, oh my goodness, you would say, wait, they're just letting anybody operate these? No, they're not. You have to have schooling, you have to have experience. It takes at least 3 to 5 years for an MRI tech to become solid in the field. It definitely does because not every machine is alike. No one patient is alike. It just you just got to have time put in. The next modality is CAT scan or CT scan or computed tomography. If you notice the difference in the scanner, it's not so much of a bore or a tunnel. It's like a donut. CAT scans is more like a donut. It's very quick. It uses radiation, and the scans are pretty easier to tolerate. We use a different kind of contrast. When we do have to give contrast on a patient, we use a different type of contrast. So MRI uses one type of contrast because it uses magnets and hydrogen and molecules in your body to acquire the image. So it requires a certain type of contrast to bond with those molecules to give us the pictures. CAT scan uses a different kind of ionizing, iodinated, contrast to be able to highlight the tissues in the vessels. So I want to know in the chat, have you ever had a CT scan? Let me know. Have you ever had a CT scan? Many people have had those more so than anybody. I'm gonna tell you when they really pick up after people have eaten at the family dinners. At the family dinners, Thanksgiving, Christmas, those type of things, people usually have a belly ache. Now, our next modality is going to be mammography. Mammography, many women and now many men are experienced in getting mammograms. They have seen an increase in male breast cancer now. So, if you've ever had a mammogram, let me know in the comments. I have had one or two, of course, but they actually do not hurt. Many people, I have a podcast where we interview different people who talk about their experience with the mammogram and what made it a good experience, what made it not a so pleasant experience, and tips that they have for you. But I don't feel that it's a bad exam. There are other exams that's way worse. Certain times, of course, it could be a little more painful when you go get your mammogram. But this is a necessary test, I feel, that everyone should have if you have breast. And yeah, I'm going to say that. So this is ultrasound. You probably are saying, why are they ultrasounding that person's throat? Well, for several reasons. Ultrasound, like any other medical imaging or radiology exam, is not just for the bones or just for the abdomen. Many people think of ultrasound just looking at the babies. Yeah, that's one thing, but we can look at everything, almost everything with ultrasound. If there's fluid or water in it, it uses sound waves. You definitely can use ultrasound. And there's so many things in the neck that they need to look at. You have vessels, you have the thyroid, you have tissues that they, and you might have glands and lymph nodes, all type of things that they need to see with the ultrasound. But check my other video coming out. It's going to break down each one of these modalities. Now, radiation therapy, this is one of the things I really wanted to do straight out of x-ray school was radiation therapy. This was the one modality I did want to do, but it didn't work out. And I'm not sad about it at all. I feel like my career in radiology has gone a really good direction. So I'm very happy. Now, radiation therapy is another pathway that you can go in without going to x-ray school first. I'll talk about that in another video. So let me know in the comments if you want to know more about that. But this is a really good profession. It is an extra year schooling like nuclear medicine, like ultrasound, MRI, CT. Some places will make you go to school for it. Depends. Some places will train you on a job because it is so close to radiology. They just have to teach you the cross-sectional portion. And you also have to get a certain amount of exams for all of these things outside of x-ray. Plus x-ray, you have to get all the exams, the clinical exams. But these treat cancer patients. Now, they can treat cancer anyway, and it delivers a specified amount of radiation to that area. So radiation therapy is really cool. And this is interventional or IR. I I trained through this when I was in school and I thought I wanted to do it, but I could not take all that call that they have. They have way too much callback. I don't want to, once I leave work, I want to leave work. I'm sorry. Tell me if I'm the only one. I don't want to be called back. And it was so cold in that room, but it has to be cold because it's a sterile field. So this gentleman right here with the needle in his hand is the radiologist. The radiologist is the one, the doctor who operates the needles and the French guide wires and puts those in to clear the vessels or put in a stent or a fistula, whatever they're putting in or taking out or clearing up. The persons in the back operating the machine, the fluoroscopy machine or the x-ray machine, are radiologic technologists, interventional technologists. They are the ones operating the machine for the surgeon. Not only are you pressing a button, so people say, oh, you just stand in the surgery and press buttons. No, it's very similar to, would you think a surgical tech just stands there and hands the doctor's instruments? No, they have a very skilled job. They have to know which instrument he needs for what he's doing. So they have to almost know the surgery as well as the doctor, if not better. Because if you've ever been in surgery, you cannot hear what somebody's saying through those masks. And it is a dance of how everything is orchestrated in those operating and interventional rooms. When you are sterile, people are put to sleep. You are in, especially interventional, they have a lot of codes, which is people code blues a lot because they are dealing with the vessels. And usually you are very critical when you come to them. You're just not coming to them because you got a headache. You're coming because you got a headache because something's blocked. The blood is not getting there. Like it's life or death for people coming to interventional. So a lot of people are very critical. They usually have their own nurse who's in there all times. The radiologist is there doing the procedures, and you have a whole team, usually a few radiologists and at least 4 or 5, depending on the department, interventional technologists. It is not just one or two, and you're working, and you're always on your toes. You might pull out. I remember being there and just pulling out like two French needles, and this, and totally had to run back to the supply room and go get this French because when he got in, the vessel was so blocked that 12 was too big. He needed to go down to an 8. And it's like, okay, where do I find the 8? I got to get the 8, and then you got to get a French and not this. I mean, you have to know all these instruments just as well as a doctor. And you have to know your doctors as well. When I say interventional is, and that's just the basics of it. It is, I did a podcast with a gentleman who does interventional, and oh my goodness, Lake was a great guest. He really shed a lot of light on interventional. And I tell you, if you are in radiology, you want challenge, you want great pay, you like to be in the thick of things, interventional to me is where you should be as well. So I hope this was helpful, you guys. I really enjoyed talking about the field of radiology with you, going live. If you're watching a replay, be sure to let me know in the comments what you think. And don't forget to subscribe. Yes, I would appreciate any comments, any subscribing to my page and channel. I'm enjoying talking about radiology. It is my passion, my love, and it pays the bills. And I just want to make sure everyone understands the wonderful profession that we are. And if you ever have to get a radiology exam, any of the ones that I've talked about, come back to my page. Let me know, hey, I just had this test or that test, or I really had a great experience in radiology, because we are a great group of people who really enjoy what we do and we love our patients. So, again, thank you guys. Check out my podcast. The link is down in the description. Leave me a review. Let me know. Hit the subscribe button for me, please. And be sure to come back for more. I've got more on the horizon. And my Instagram, you can always subscribe over there as well. I put a lot of shorts and entertaining video out over there. So I appreciate all your support.